This is Mars Direct. Whenever we're ready.
Welcome to What's Your Sign? I'm Julia Loken.
I'm Stevie Goldstein.
I'm the little dance party of this podcast.
True.
Shake it. Shake it, baby. What's the dance party? Explain yourself, Lisa.
I just feel like that would be fun for Mars Direct
Oh.
Yeah.
to have like something physical that you do. It doesn't have to be like an actual party you go to or any like at the Echo or anything, but in your kitchen,
Movement.
Mars Direct dance party.
I feel like Gemini is a very dancey sign too. There's something about the like moving, the back and forth movement is a very Mars and Gemini kind of. I don't know. I'm doing it now.
The physicality of it all. I've had that even after like the weddings and stuff. Like a lot of friends reach out, be like, "I want to dance. I missed gathering with the intention of partying and dancing. Can we do that more?" And it's like, yes, we can. Here's the playlist. So I think too that like stimuli that we've had in this Gemini Marsy time. Well, I have our episode notes too from when Mars first entered Gemini, which is very funny to think of where we were at in terms of life things. Sorry, Lisa, did you have something? I can go back into it after that.
I was just going to say wedding dancing is so much more fun than going to the Virgil on Friday night.
It's so true. Maybe it's just
Sorry,
like
the Virgil.
They're like,
no,
we haven't been open in so long.
They're open.
Are they?
Under new management, we can talk about it off air.
Okay.
Because it's tea, but we'll talk about it later.
Ooh. Gemini Mars.
I think that, sorry, I keep starting that. I think that dancing is better with people that you like know or whatever. And when you know why you're doing it, I think that it's the thing that also makes it the hardest for people to just assign themselves a reason to go doing it. And why I think it often sometimes will work if you do it, but I think it kind of only works if you either accidentally find yourself at a place where there's dancing and you go like, oh, I wasn't doing that. Or you like, we've done this of like starting your own dance party at a place where there is explicitly not dancing, not like it's outlawed Footloose style, but just that it's like at a regular bar where it's not a dance party. And I think when you go like, we're going to dance, because at a wedding, you are going to dance, but you also kind of have to make it through all of this other stuff to get to that part where you get to dance and release and connect and share and like celebrate after you've done kind of the like work of the like getting married itself or whatever. And it's all just like people that you know and just shared something with. I don't know. It's I feel like dancing is thing you want to do all of the time, and it's a really hard like elemental thing to manufacture.
I've been to a wedding where no one danced too.
Same.
And it's like, what happened,
Well, wait, I know what happened to the one I was at with no dancing. Do you know what happened for yours?
I think everyone there probably knows, but also it wasn't one thing. I don't think there's like one specific thing, but there are a few problems. Obviously, like there's logistical things where the floor is set up, how whatever. If the bride and groom aren't on the dance floor, no one else is going to. And what music you play and what kind of shoes people are wearing and all that kind of stuff. But also there were, I think, other factors too.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear for the wedding, was like no one dancing. But I think you reminded me of if you're dancing, people will copy you and do that thing. Also, things being the wedding I was at with no dancing, too hot. It was, the circulation wasn't thought out, and Spotify playlists versus a DJ. So there'd be like unpaid Spotify too. So there'd be commercial ads in the middle at a wedding. Just to get the premium for just that month.
Just the day.
Yeah. Cancel that free day. Trial.
Oh my God. Also, that's the Gemini Mars tip too, that I think people forget about. Sign up for the trial and immediately cancel it, because you still get the remainder of the trial, but then you don't have to set the calendar alerts or whatever it is.
I don't know if this is a good tip. This is the thing about TikTok. Is a thing where I go like, oh, that's so smart. And then I'm like, are people actually getting these and using these? I saw a TikTok where they told you to, if you ever get like a Visa gift card, hold on to it and load it and use that for any of your like free trial ones, because it just will it's not like an actual credit card that I can keep charging all of the time.
Like a dead dummy card.
I doubt that
Whoa.
works because I people try to pay with those at bars all the time, and a lot of programs just don't take them. Especially the name on them is often preferred customer. I doubt that
where
you're
they're like, okay,
but something you
It's
can
a family
do,
name. Okay. I come
um
from a long line of preferred customers.
something you can do with a card. Also, you know, I'm a big proponent of like get the Starbucks because the Visa one charges you a fee to buy it or whatever. But if somebody gives you a Visa gift card, there's some like newfangled technology where it won't let you use a portion of the card. So if you use $25.38, like you're only going to be able to use it until, you know, you have $1 left, and then that's $1 that's not yours. So I always buy a gift card online, usually on Amazon, sorry to say. But yeah, and that'll let you have your entire $100 credit.
Ooh, see, I transfer. I don't know if this counts. I just got my middle class tax refund also. So stoked. And it came with this nifty
Me too.
California card. You can see the numbers, everybody. I transferred them out already.
It's
fine.
Gas refund. Middle class gas surge refund.
Oh, is this the gas one?
The little debit card that just came?
Yeah, I just got. Well, normally it goes to my bank, but I forgot a new bank account this past year. But I just transferred it to my. Like, I was like, ooh, this will be fun to use up. And then I'm like, wait, it's going to have that remaining weird $6 that I forget about. I was like, not today. It's going straight transfer to the bank account. And that's what's cooking. But it's got the cute California bear. Now we need the natural gas refund because you guys see about the natural gas stuff going on.
Oh my God. How much did yours go up?
Like, it's like 200% higher.
Mine too.
So we're, for those that don't know, natural gas has gone up in California, at least in this time when we're recording. And basically all the advice online too, from like the gas companies, like just don't use it. And like, there's no other good advice besides don't use it or lower your degrees or like insulate your windows better because it's going to be this expensive. And it's like, oh shit. So now we're in bundle mode. We've turned the heat off. We're bundled up in socks and blankets and
we don't have, I mean, obviously our heater is, but our water heater is also gas, and so is our stove. Yeah. So like, I would love to not use it, but like, I can't be taking a cold shower with no heater and not eating cooked food. Like, I don't know what to say.
It's Soviet Russia. It is very just grin and bear it because this is what it is. And it's like, how? But they didn't lose. They made so much money last year. They're in record profits. Like they can't take how about they take the hit versus the consumer? Never. Oh, never. That concept. Never heard of it. Okay. So I guess we'll be microwaving and showering at the Korean spa for the next
buy an electric space heater, and you know,
I think that might be.
But it's also like that's so bad for the environment. Like I don't know. I know. And it's not your fault. It's their fault. I'm not saying it's bad for the environment for us to do it because we still have to take care of ourselves.
Exactly. We're humans that have to exist still.
It doesn't. It just creates another, whack-a-mole thing where it's like, okay, cool. Well, now then your electric bill is going to go up too, even if we're saying environmentally, of course, all of these things. And then also just like, well, that also doesn't, I don't know. Is that less? It's just, yeah.
Well, last time when Mars went into Gemini, our episode that came out on August 29th, they went into Gemini on August 20th. But this is where we were at, which I think is just very funny of like, oh girls, you didn't even know like what this summer and fall and winter would be. Is Lisa was trying new flavors of Coke and I was buying a shitty
I'm still doing that.
And Julia was liking turtle videos. So we were really just doing
that turtle getting its tummy brushed.
It felt so. I was just reading this like, oh, this seems so lighthearted and just like, oh my God, Mars and Gemini. I'm gonna try new Coke. I think I'm gonna buy a couch. Ooh, this turtle is so cute.
I have new Coke flavors in my fridge still.
Oh, really? Some new,
Yeah.
new Coke flavors.
Sparkling water, a new Dr. Pepper flavor. There, yeah, I've been on it.
Okay,
have-
Mars trend hasn't ended.
I have two notes that I have to share from this note. The first one is Heidi Klum worm Mars.
Oh yeah, Mhm. That was a significant touchstone moment.
Also, a note that says emojis are the cute outfits for your texts.
Mhm. Yeah, we were really, just hitting the heavy topics of that time, of that late summer time.
Dreams come true. Another note. Okay.
Aw,
Wow.
I love that. Well, and something we predicted or like touched on for this Mars and Gemini time was permission to change our minds was a kind of key word there. And then softened confrontational energy. I don't know if that really one was came true for
I think
for
I've
me,
become
but
harsher.
some things were right on that I was looking at, and some things I was like, oh wow, the complete opposite. That also tracks. There was something bubbling up there, but we also can't control how other people come into our lives either.
I don't know if I would say softening confrontational energy, but I do think we've had to have more like consistent confrontations, if that makes sense, where there is something, not a softening of confrontations within ourselves in terms of it being like you can't put it off, if that makes sense.
I definitely feel that. I was even just saying to Stevie, because we went out for Korean barbecue, like that I talked shit about somebody at our party, and that I talked about them to someone who I know is a run and tell kind of person, and that like, okay, come talk to me about it then, because I actually know why I did that. So I do feel like I was maybe harsher on them than I needed to be, but I also feel like I'm pretty secure in all of the reasons why I'm upset with you. So it's not something that's going to stir me up if we have to have a discussion about it, where I think before I definitely would have felt a bit more conflict avoidant and stuff. So I do think there's like a confidence that comes along with it. I also know that I started doing hot yoga during Mars and Gemini, like, and it's something that I've like tried a few times, but it's never stuck. And now I'm like, I'm in the life. I like asked for it for Christmas. Like you know what I mean? Like this is like the thing. This is my new drinking alcohol, where I'm like, I love this more than anything. Like this is where I have the most fun and like the greatest high of my day.
It's the hot air. Very, very,
and very sad that it used to be drinking alcohol, but
no, but that is both. I think both of those are kind of like, one's hot water and one's hot air, and I think that like they both, we like, you need something hot at some point.
Yeah,
like, I think heating up, but yeah,
the Gemini Mars too. I think we've heard from so many astrologers or memes or whatever about like gossip, right? And fights and social interactions and that. And I found myself during that time being like, am I being really gossipy or is this? And I was like, actually, sometimes you need to talk it out with your people and see, and also know when maybe you're in the right or in the wrong. I feel like I had a lot of conversations with friends where I was like, I'm not picking that other person's side. However, I do see why that would come off this way. And just like laying out very Gemini-ness, like the facts of what happened. And same for your like fight or gossipy thing, Lisa. It's like, well, you're having a problem with that person. And if someone's going to go run off and tell, I feel like it's an encouragement of things that it's like, well, if you overheard me, then like good, because there was something that needed to be said here. And sometimes it's not comfortable and it can come around in weird ways. But fuck, what else can you do? Or also even that redirection of energy of like, like people talk and have their nonsense all the time. That's beyond Gemini Mars. Like that's going to be forever. It's just then where do you invest in it or care about it?
I think too, you can go like, and not you, I mean one, in the sense, because I feel like Gemini Mars definitely made me chattier and more I don't know if confrontational, but yes, confrontational too. But the like going, oh, okay, I don't say anything that I wouldn't have a conversation with someone. And then now that we are stationing direct, going like, oh, well, maybe the next time I'll just like say that to that person's face immediately or whatever, like that. Not even because I don't think that that's always what the situation calls for. But I think Mars direct, or at least in Gemini, it's like there's always going to be multiplication, whether you say it to someone or not. Even if you have the best intentions and clear communication, they might then go, well, this is what you don't have no control over what someone hears or whatever. So it also is like, keep your side of the street clean and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you guys feel this way about transits, and I feel like retrogrades and direct are kind of a good example of this for me. I feel like a lot of the time when these things are happening, like even for instance, when the sun sign is changing. So we're moving from Pisces to Aries, something as an example. I feel like I start to feel it happening a little bit before the day it actually changes over. And I don't know if that's something to do with kind of the, it being those final degrees of that sign, or if with retrogrades, I think it's kind of more an easy example because the planets like actually slow down and change, stop and then slowly start moving the other direction before they speed up again. Or like those aren't the right technical terms, they're the right astrology terms, but that's what it seems like is happening in the sky. Do you guys feel like that sometimes when you're like, oh, like today's the Mercury retrograde day, but like my phone broke 3 days ago?
Yes, I guess I don't know if it's a follow-up or if a clarification question to answer your question. Do you feel it more like you feel the change in upcoming energy, like what's coming, or does it feel more like this current energy is almost done? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you
That's
feel
a
it
really
running?
hard question to ask someone that has 3 planets in the 12th house. Like, I don't know what time it is. I know what time it says the computer says, but like, I don't know exactly when stuff is happening. And I don't really view time as linear, but I think it's probably a combination of the two things. I think that a lot of the times when these transits are coming collectively, not just people who are into astrology, we're preparing for things. And so it feels like it's like there's 2 weeks before your wedding. It feels like it's part of your wedding because you're like, that's all you're doing is doing that and thinking about that and preparing for those things and having people fly in and all of that stuff. So I think that's part of it. I also just feel like sometimes when it's like the big day of something where it's like in my Google Calendar, which you can purchase, like I'm like, oh, it's the day, but like the big thing already happened or whatever.
No, I feel
I think it's like that bracing for like wanting the change. I could see that. Like I think even now, like we were getting ready to look ahead at Aquarius season. I don't feel like I'm in Aquarius season yet, but I'm ready to open my arms to Aquarius. I'm ready for the next flow of energy. I'm ready to receive like what's on the horizon. And maybe it's because we are more aware of like the dates and what's coming up.
I feel like Mars is direct already. Like I feel like I'm like I have more energy. I feel more like maybe like a little bit too much. Like I didn't have any coffee, but I feel like I've had both of yours and mine.
Yeah.
well there's because to
I was gonna
me,
say, like, where is it? I mean, it probably depends on your chart. I've been in the 12th house this whole time, so I haven't been I haven't felt. I've had waves. It depends. It's so like moody and flippant. Mercury retrograde did not help me. As soon as Mercury went retrograde, it was like I can handle a little Mars retrograde. Like during Mars retrograde, I was doing like the most fitness stuff I've like ever done. I was like super active, like 10,000 steps a day, hiking all the time, like go, go, go. I mean, I also knew like I had an event coming up, not that it was fully for that, but I just wanted to feel energetic and not like do things that would slow me down. And yeah, the double retrograde has not been serving me like at all, at all.
well, I think I was thinking about this before we started, that the Mars retrograde on its own I think because we had things that we had to do, it was like you still could. The phrase that we've repeated so much over this was like, "What's your motivation? What is motivating you?" And it's going to be kind of hard because it's going to feel like you're not having that forward motion, but you still like keep your eyes on the prize of what you're motivated to do. And again, for you and I, Stevie, that definitely not solely, but big event. We both had our weddings, and that was a thing that was like, hey, I gotta keep
During
moving
Mars
because I have
retrograde.
this thing. It does not matter what my energy level is like. I need to be supplementing because I need to keep moving forward to this upcoming thing, and then not
redirecting the reserves a bit.
Yes, and then not having a clear focus as much as then it was like the holidays and back to normal, but back to quote unquote normal is not a fun easy thing to feel motivated around, at least for me, where it's like, oh, normal, like what am I getting all revved up for? And then having the Mercury retrograde on top of that. But back to your Lisa, increased energy with the Mars already direct, it might as well be when we know that we're past the point of having to kind of like, I don't know, get the momentum. It's like when you're on the plane, even though you haven't taken off yet, it's like the trip started.
I turned my phone off already.
Yeah, we're on the plane, we're on the tarmac, but we're closer to being in the air and at our next destination than we are to being at home planning the vacation. And not to say it's a vacation, I don't mean that, but you get what I'm saying.
Because what was weird, or not weird, but I was seeing like a lot when Mars was at its halfway point of this retrograde, like on Astro Twitter being like, we're halfway there. So like the energy is like we're coming closer back to energy. And I'm like, oh, I feel like mine hit that halfway point and then did a stark gas drop. Like I was riding the fumes of the direct and then stopped and was like, guess I'm gonna go into neutral and coast until it's direct time. And I think some people do hear finish line and then get that, or feel finish line, and then they get that marathon sprint end feeling where you're like the last horse on the inside and then you're actually the one that like goes in and takes it. So I think just people use their energy in different ways. And I know like if I hear it's almost the end, then I'm like, cool, I'll coast and float in, versus like I got my last sprint of gas and now I'm really gonna put it into the like superpower.
Well, something I'm noticing now is that it was at one point, it's getting further from your natal Mars. So it being it's as far away as possible until it starts going direct again from your natal Mars, because you're in Cancer.
I'm waiting closer.
My Mars is in Aquarius, so it's probably trining. You know what I mean? So it's probably hitting my natal Mars in a different way than yours. And I also am realizing I quit my job, and that's why I have more time, and that's why I'm relaxed, not because of Mars.
Those are
now it's all tracking.
That's Martian too. I think a cutting things off, is also like Mars energy, and that like here's what we're going back to and here's what we're not going back to. The phrase that's been coming back to me, that's been coming up for me a lot, and I mean I definitely attribute it to the full moon, but I think also in the like throes of we're about to go direct is like not going back again. Where are we not going back? Where did we go back enough? And we went back and we saw how that was. And where are we ready to go? Okay, like been there, done that, ready to go. Next thing. And I think that is also, we had to confront some of those things and be kind of engaged with them in a way that we maybe would not have liked to, but because we've done that and now we are coming to this direct Mars, we're still going to be in Gemini until we're still in the shadow until like March. So I mean, we're not done with this Mars Gemini energy either. But I do think it is the like, oh, okay, there is some clearer, I did it.
There's some other note key dates, I think, in this whole Mars transit that are worth bringing up. So we had a Mercury retrograde in Libra and Virgo back in September 9th through October 2nd. Some things that came up from that episode in that time period was seeing people out the door was a quote. Julia was clowning at that time. That was the clown show time. And also oppositions to Jupiter and trines from Pluto. And some theme words that were also grace and space and that air to earth, because we were also getting a lot of that air to earth energy, except for the Mercury retrograde that will still be in by this when Mars will be direct when this releases, but we'll still have a little bit of just the very end of, or no, has it gone direct for what day does this come out? Oh no, a couple more days, guys.
It'll be direct
on the 18th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mars will be direct and Mercury will still has a few more days left. Mars went direct on the 12th and then Mercury will go direct on the 18th. Then when Mars went retrograde, from our episode from November 7th, I know it was retrograde. I think October 30th is when it started, talking about our physical and mental energy. We also were talking about emo resurgences, friendship breakups, and the times to make plans but push back against expectations. And then also in this Mercury retrograde that we've been in this cycle, which started on the 29th of December last year, as I just said, we'll be going till the 18th. We'll still have shadow periods and whatnot. Sticking to schedules and creating boundaries and assembling the plan, but most likely waiting for the energy revival of spring, which has been tracking. And I should note too, even though it's direct right now, Mars has been at 8 degrees since January 1st, and it's going to be at 8 degrees until the 24th. So it's still
it is literally trining my natal Mars.
Yeah. And has been and has stayed.
And my midheaven. So
yeah.
That means I was supposed to quit that job.
Yup.
Yes.
Yup.
Yes.
Not just because there was a shooting there the next week.
No, because trines. It's
right.
And I like that reminder of the cord and cutting and the sharp objects that we get with Mars. And that I feel like too, it's like that can't unsee it sort of thing. Like, it's like when you tell your mom you hate someone and it's like, shit, I can't go back from that. Like news that I shared. That's how Mars Gemini has like really felt. And yep, we'll get that move into Cancer on March 25th. So until that move into Cancer, we're still retracing basically all that shadow time from September. So there might be some repeating themes from that September period. I mean, it's just really been quite a doozy. And we'll probably have a same but different experience when we do reflect on Venus retrograde later on in the year. But
I love that too. I love it. I love to like clean my house, and sometimes I can get kind of, I guess, negative when I'm like, oh, this is my husband's stuff, or like, I can't believe he just leaves his stuff like this. But when I'm cleaning up like my stuff or reorganizing my jewelry box or something, it's always nice to be like, oh, these are in this weird position because I like went to the Elton John concert and like threw these off, and you know what I mean? Where it's like you get to kind of relive those little fun moments by, oh wow, like these shoes are in the bathroom because I had to run in and go pee because I was holding my pee so bad from the traffic from the Elton John concert.
evidence of life, proof of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
How has it? I know maybe it's too early to call because we'll still have Mars and Gemini for the next couple months, but overall, bop, flop, plus, minus, yay, nay.
I've had the best time.
I don't know if it's as easy as that, but
I got to go to both of your weddings, and
it was fun.
We got to have our little party, and
oh my god, the
party.
Job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think I've had some extra space to give a little bit more, like reached out to people. I've definitely been that retrograde friend now that I'm thinking about it. I've like reconnected with old friends and reached out to people I haven't seen in a while. And I got to go to Chicago. I mean, I've had a great,
there's action.
I've had a great time.
It has not been easy, but it has been bops, I would say. For sure, it's a bop. I think that it has not been opposing me directly for most of it, but it has been opposing me, spiritually, energetically. And I think it has been a reminder. Yeah, with all my with my Sag placements, and it's going to come back and go over. I also have Chiron and Gemini, and just knowing that it's even there kind of already makes me go like, oh, we're in the area.
No.
And it's
now
like
you're freaking me out. It didn't hit mine yet. It's until the end.
I know, but I mean, same.
Surprise.
But even that, it's the one where I go like, oh, I'm getting opposition. It's just, I feel like I'm goalie, and I actually like playing goalie because it's like a fun. What your job is. But I think that this has been one where it's like, hey, you can't skip over those things. You can't just jump and for me, it's often like, it's the conversation where I go, I can think my way out of this. I can think my way through this. I can think 10 steps ahead. I can have a goal. And if we reach the goal, then it doesn't matter really like how we got there. And having this kind of reminder of going like, yeah, but don't you want it does matter how you get there. It is the journey, not the destination, unfortunately. And oftentimes you end up in the attempts to circumvent or the attempts to get there faster and more direct, you miss the mark or you miss the thing or the people aren't there that you thought were going to be there, whatever that may be. And so I think that it has felt very necessary, and I am definitely going to be taking with me these are things that I needed. And it also was like I guess this is also on my mind because we're in Los Angeles and it's raining, and I do feel like this Mars direct did force some, I don't know, some seasons on some of us who have been seasonless in a way. And I think that that's partially because social media and that we kind of all have a little bit of that thing where you can be living the same day over and over and over and over again. And that, like, I don't know, containment, that slowing down, going into like having it kind of line up with a time when I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? I know I'm losing it a little bit,
Yeah.
but like that thing of going like, oh, I couldn't have skipped over all of that. That's like important stuff. And I feel like when spring comes, I am going to feel like spring, like, let's go.
Yeah. You're noticing life and maybe living a bit seasonally.
Yes.
We also don't get weather like that often here. And it is so community building. I mean, it's not the only thing, I think. But yesterday, at work, right when I got there, someone had locked their keys in their car. And so that was like a thing where now you have to stay. You can't just wait outside like you normally would. You have to like come in and grab something to eat or drink and sit where it's not raining on you. And then, that can lead to like really kind of close relationships, because it's like, I don't have people in the bar that are there for 2 hours sometimes. I have a lot of like quick turnaround stuff. So I get to actually meet this person and talk to them or whatever. It also can put you in a really dangerous position. Like when it rains, if you're bartending, it's one of those things where you really have to watch out for people who have been drinking for too long because they can't leave because it's raining and because they're drunk. And it's like, you just can't keep serving them. So it's like sometimes during rainy seasons, when you go to work, it's scary because you don't know what you're in for. So I do think that you're right. I think in somewhere like in Chicago or New York, where they're used to having rainstorms and snowstorms during the winter and have the clothing and the road sweepers and the drains and all this stuff that's like set up for it, maybe they don't have. I mean, first day of the storm might be a little bit like that, but not the entire time. So I think it is something that it definitely makes me feel certain things and brings out stuff in me where I'm like, oh, I've stayed too long somewhere in my life too,
Well, and if you're not standing, thinking of that Mars retrograde, if you aren't staying somewhere, you don't have a reason to like talk about stuff or make conversation, ask how people are doing. Like that only comes from having the space and the motivation and that to like make the best of where we all have to be right now, even though we would maybe rather be somewhere else. Not saying that that's always the case, but I think that there is that like, yeah.
Yeah. I think, something, I can't remember when we've talked about it, but like, if you want the fun, the community, the party, like you have to do that, like not expecting to go into those spaces and have it given to you. And I think maybe it's been the 12th house time, and maybe it was our party too. I was like, oh wow, we made something that's like so us, and we are great. And it was a great part. Like it was like, oh, good. The good vibes beget good vibes. And it was cool to see. And thanks to the signers who came out, like there were some people I'd never met before, because usually I'll recognize people's usernames or we'll interact. And I was like, oh, just some listeners. So like reintroduce yourselves to us in the DMs and say hi. It was really great to see you guys. And we'll be doing more live stuff. And then our Stevie, our Austin signer friend, not beyond friend of the pod, just now friend came out too. And I think it was just that good reminder too to not, if there's the time to go, even if sometimes the weather isn't encouraging, but it's your time. Sometimes you still have to seize it and go do it and know when you need a break from your life to reappreciate your life and to go check in. And I was just like, when she asked to come by, I was like, if you want to brave the retrogrades and come on through, like do it. And she did. And she lived and had a good time. And I think that's a reminder too. Like retrogrades doesn't mean stop everything. It just might be like you're really seeing it through new lenses or a new point of view that you might not always have access to. So I think ultimately was been good, hard, but good. And a similar, I feel like me and Julia, we'll have to look at our charts. We had like a very similar like experiences. I have this right on my Jupiter right now too. And it was in my 12th house, but I'd been back in my 11th house. It's now been in my 11th house for a little bit with Placidus. So I'm feeling like this has been like a good reminder of like, who am I in this time? And who am I in context of other people, I think is because I can absorb very easily.
Well, it's been hard. That's something that I was thinking about too with our party, but also with this retrograde where it has been, we've been interacting with people differently. I mean, and not like, I mean, I'm not treading any new ground here with that, but it is like the getting to know ourselves in the context of other people and in conversation and in these face-to-face interactions, even of being able to be like literally talking to people and like looking people in the eyes and looking as they're whatever. I don't know. That hasn't been as, I know many of us have been having to do it in work scenarios and in scenarios. Some people have not stopped doing that, but I do think that there is some of that is back in a way, or we are having to navigate that in a way that we hadn't been for the past couple years. And so getting to re-know ourselves, re-know our friends. Something that came up for me at this party is that everyone that I talked to after was like, oh, everyone I met there, I had such a great time. Everybody I talked to was great. And I feel like you don't, like
that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, one doesn't always happen. And also it even made me think of us in the way that we've been interacting with the people that listen and our followers and all of that, where it's like, of course I know, yeah, like you said, handles, or how someone responds to content, but you don't know, they don't necessarily get to interact with each other, or you don't get to have the conversations and see them out in the world and see that's
not even that. It's not, you work at your wedding to make sure that for it to happen at something that's open to the public, that's like, that not only doesn't happen, it never happens. Like that's a huge testament to like what we've done, I think.
No, coming out to something where you don't know anyone is like very cool and very brave and very bold. And I'm like taking notes of like, oh yeah, if it's something that you're interested in, and everyone's like, there's the promise that it's safe, like it's okay, like it will be, like, also worst case, you have a drink and you go home, right? Like are the stakes really that high? But can the reward be great? Like, oh my God, I might have all these new, like, also I met some people in LA I've never met before. I'm like, new friend check, like DMing, like I had a great time. Time. I can't remember what it was. I think I've been pulling all major arcana tarot cards. Like I can't pull anything. Which Stevie recommended me this great app, Mystic Mondays, and I've been really
awesome.
I love the Mystic Mondays.
Been so into cards. Been so into cards this 2023 so far. Which I always like my cards, but now I'm like the regular card pulling, even just one card, and it's been so big stuff. And I don't know, maybe as Mars moves into Cancer for my Mars return as well, I'm like it's been meditating on big themes, but still feeling like I have to wait for a second, or like see more information, or see how things unfold a little bit, which I know sometimes astrologically it's like, no, tell me what to do, but it's like sometimes what to do is sussing out how things are unfolding and what's the vibe. So speaking of, I have little horoscopies for this transition. This won't be till March 25th, 2023. Mars moves into Cancer, but I do have little insights for these house shifts that we'll be having for your rising sign, if y'all want to hear these.
Lay it on us.
Any last Mars thoughts before I before I rattle these off.
Imagine the Mars and Gemini just almost came out and makes so almost like, no, I don't, we're good. Imagine. Do you want to hear these? I worked
only
hard
ours.
to get through all of the signs. No, I can't wait to hear them.
Okay, so listen for your rising sign, but I'm sure themes of the sun and moon, of course. But for Aries rising, Gemini's been in your third house for a hot minute. It will move into Cancer in your fourth house. Again, this is going to all happen March 25th, 2023. So maybe this is also revisiting that Gemini turf territory we've been experiencing since August. But where from third to fourth house, where we need to invest in our sanctuary spaces so we can bring people into our lives for Aries rising. Taurus rising, Gemini's been in your second house. It's going to move into Cancer in your third. Where we've been spending or giving to others and reinvesting that back into our creativity and our interests. Gemini rising, this has been in your first house. It's going to move into your second house in Cancer. And this has been in your place of self. This has been very bodily for the Cancer risings, maybe even like physically frustrating. So this move into the second house could be also just taking a look of where we're reprioritizing basically everything in our lives. So this could just be a shift, moving the post-it notes around of what's taking precedence for you as we get this move into Cancer.
I know Gemini risings have been going through it.
Oh yeah.
So I know we've been here just validating your experience and yeah, we see you.
First house just feels so immediate too. I think it was something Kira, the astrology set, tweeted about. I like that reminder of the first house with like what's on the horizon, like literally what's on the horizon, what's coming up to the surface, what's in front of your eyes. So I think there's probably been a lot also begging for your attention in a very Gemini way. So I think this Cancer time might be, not that it has to be hermity with Cancer, but I think it is just that so much stimuli. Okay, but what's resonating? It feels like that's the shift. And I think that applies for everybody, period, with Gemini into Cancer energy is like, wow, cool, lots of stuff. Now Cancer cardinal water, right, is now where we go. Now, so who's driving? Now, like, so where, like, what are we eating? Like, into those Cancer, very like assertive sort of things. Speaking of with Cancer rising, the Gemini Mars has been in your 12th house. Now it's going to move into your first house, which we just spoke of. But, after lurking in the 12th for a while, that might feel like an absolute battery recharge too, and a time to reintroduce yourself. So maybe if it's felt like there's been a lot of noise, especially with Gemini, this could be this nice, in a positive first house sense of like who the fuck you are. And Leo risings, this has been in your 11th, going to move into your 12th. And you might have been in high demand, this summer, and there could be a shift to notice signs from the universe in that 12th house sense. 12th house is our subconscious and kind of cerebral, weird messages from the universe. So you might hit an unexpected different flow than what you've been in, and that it might be a welcome change as well. Virgo risings. So Gemini's been in your 10th house, moving into the 11th. You might have something you want people to notice about you. And this Cancer time could be a really open, receptive time for getting yourself across, getting your message heard, reaching a larger audience. It's a really, 10th and 11th is all about visibility. So I think this is a great time to really, if you want to be seen, to claim it. Libras. So Libra rising, this has been your 9th, moving into the 10th when Mars moves into Cancer in March 25th. And after a long summer, fall, and winter of soul searching, it's time to spruce up the website, the resume, the business cards, wardrobe, and embrace the spark and take what you've learned and bring it out into the world. Ninth house stuff is like big picture, big idea things. And then I think 10th is really with those angular houses, like applying it. Scorpios, this has been your 8th, moving into your 9th. Your social circle might have been coming to you with all their baggage. So this could be a really great time to retreat and focus on what's going on in your life and how you want to navigate that in this spring into summer season.
I think too, Scorpios are really comfortable in that 8th house place. So it might be hard for them to go into that next, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go?
I'm sure they've been like possibly loving this, right? Like this time of like everybody like coming to them with like, this sucks in my life. And it's like, go on. Then I don't have to reveal any of my information.
Mind your own business.
Yeah. I feel like this Cancer ninth feels very like really, it's, those are good distractions and can be fun and can be connecting, but like you got to do you, boo. And I think sometimes removing ourselves from the noise. I just think of Gemini with noise sometimes. Like it can be just a lot going on at once. And it's like, actually, I need the subtitles on because this, like, there's just too much activated right now. Sagittarius risings has been your 7th house. It's going to move into your 8th. And also, people might seem like they keep popping in and out too. Might be Lisa texting you. I don't know, but being the retrograde friend. But this Cancer Mars time could too, when it moves in March, could also be a time to reinvest and focus on long-term visions with the people you really care about. So, we can keep the friends going, but it might be like, what are you doing with like your closest circle? And Cap risings, it's been in your 6th house, going to move into your 7th. So it might feel like there's been a lot to do, but trudging through molasses as it's felt for lots of people in this early part of 2023. But now you're caught up. So it could be a great time to now do the more like relationship catch-ups with people you've been missing or like long phone calls. I'm like so pro phone calls. Or also I've been deeply now into Marco Polo. God, I have so many to catch up on, but I'm excited to have my Marco Polo moment. So
I'm
not a sponsored ad. It's so cool. I heard about it all pandemic and I'm like, I'm bummed I did so many Zooms when I could have just done the Marco Polo. I would have just done that.
Well, it does get frustrating when our group is like 8 or 7.
Oh, that's a lot.
It is like sometimes you'll get on, you'll have 140 and you're like, but it's just you two talking about what you ate 140 messages. No.
Yeah. Fast forward. If you don't know Marco Polo, not a sponsored ad, but you leave video voice memos and it's been really great for my people with different time zones or I don't know, getting back to people at your own time. I think that's a Gemini Mars thing too, of like, just because you get the stimuli notification, like everyone understands that texts don't have to be answered immediately.
Yeah. I think of text as a long forum, like a long. Imagine printing them all out. Wow.
No.
Whoa.
That would be my wallpaper in my future mansion.
Actually, that'd be kind of dope. Like a tech Mercury room, Gemini room.
I just think of the room that everyone always wallpapers, which I'm like, that's a bathroom. That's what my text would be, a bathroom
on wallpaper. The toilet.
But mine it'll just be the text in like a serif font, like all bleeding into each other. It won't be the bubbles and everything. Yeah.
Beautiful. I like that.
A library,
okay, that's
maybe.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Oh,
anyway,
yes.
Move on.
Aquarius rising. This has been in your 5th house, moving into your 6th. And this Gemini Mars time might have revitalized some of that childlike wonder that we can experience when we have 5th house transits. And now it might be time to adult a little bit. I know it's cringe, whatever, adulting. But I think that if there's areas in your life you're ready to tend to get cultivating because like it's all systems go in terms of growth and getting that shit on lock. And Pisces rising, nothing for you. Bye. See you next week. And
not for Gretchen Wieners.
Yes. Just kidding. It's been in your 4th house. It's moving in your 5th house. So you might have been feeling like an extra. If you could be sleepier, this might have been the time where it might feel like you're waking up from like the longest nap ever. And I think intimacy for the 4th and 5th are a consistent theme. So from summer, fall, winter, and into the spring, finding where we feel safe to also express ourselves and get our creative juices flowing again. What's exciting us? What's waking us up? What's the reason for the season? So those are your little rising sign horoscopes for when Mars does move. Again, I'm a little early. This is not coming up to March, but I think this might give some insight of territory we might be wrapping up on as Mars thinks about getting out of Gemini, possibly, maybe.
I think too, it's helpful to know that that's what's on the horizon when we're trying to reorient ourselves to that motivation question again, where it is like I know this has been a long time, so it's easy to lose the forest for the trees in this same. in this same sign, but here is what this is moving towards and what we have to look forward to and how to contextualize. I think that's helpful with Gemini. Like you said, it is a lot of noise. How do we kind of cut through some of that?
Yeah. And I think, Mars usually isn't very happy in Cancer, but I think sometimes when we have signs or planets and signs that aren't in their normal space or whatever places that they like thrive, it's again, it's still, we've been in something for so long. It's energy shifts are abound in 2023. The way we've done things all of 22 are going to look quite different. And
it's
it might be welcome change for a lot of people.
It's not going to be there as long as it has been in Gemini. So you don't
exactly.
You don't have half of a year to be like, I'm going to work on my home or whatever. If it's moving from third to fourth, it's like, hey, in the next month or two, let's start getting some of that homey and like emotionally homey stuff figured out. Cause next it's going into your fifth house.
Yeah. It's going to keep moving. And then Leo, but no, long time of Gemini Mars, and boy, it did its thing.
We'll look back on this time. I don't know how we'll feel. I think we'll.
The last Mars retrograde was that long ass Aries one, and that was like one where like, what the fuck is our life?
Yeah.
So fun. Mars, we need it. It keeps us moving, and when we're a bit rudderless. Yeah, it's information.
It's happened before. It'll happen again.
Yeesh. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.